In this lesson, I want to show you how to optimize your ads. So if you created different ads and they're both running, you will understand which one to keep, which one to scale, and how to do that. So the first thing that you need to check when you want to compare your different ads is you need to have a look at statistical significance. So what is statistical significance? It shows us that the data that we get is actually useful for us, because many people, when they get a 1.5% CTR ad and a 1.4% CTR ad, they tend to always go with a better one after like only spending $5 and getting a few clicks. But in reality, these actions that you take based on data that was not statistically significant may actually hurt you, because probably you just cut a loser or you just cut a winner earlier and you kept going with a loser, and your results would have been better if you didn't do so. So how can we get this statistical significance? Well, there's a pretty cool tool from VWO, and I also used it in the first version of this lesson here. Use it again because I use it on a regular basis, and we can add the number of visitors and the number of conversions. Now, this works with clicks and conversions, but it also works with impressions and clicks. So it doesn't really matter if you want to test click-through rate or conversion rate. So let's say our number of visitors are 37,829, and for the other one it's a little less. And this is the point, because by default AdWords shows the better performing ad to more people, so it's a little harder to realize when an ad is really statistically significant. So let's do a little test, and it says that we have no statistical significance at this point. So you can tell already that you see here one has a CTR of 1.79 and the other one of 2.04. Now, if we would get these two results by with this ad having the same amount of impressions as this one here, then it would be different. But the fact that we only have 3,000 impressions for this one makes it not that statistically significant yet. I assume that this is the main problem here, because the top one actually got a fair amount of impressions, and this really tells us that this one is not statistically significant from an impression to clicks point of view. Now, if we do the same thing with the clicks to conversion point of view, so here 53, then we have, how many conversions do we get here? 190 for the first one, which is a lot. You see already that with this client we have just a crazy search ad conversion rate, and here we have 6. So let's see if we have a statistical significance here. And yes, this time we do have statistical significance. So you see already this one has a 24.6% conversion rate, this one has an 11% conversion rate. So you see, the bigger the difference, the easier it is to get statistical significance. Here the difference was only like 15%, here it was over 100%. So it becomes clear that this one is way easier to determine. The one reason why we didn't keep this one ad right here only is that this still gets a few clicks here and there, but AdWords realized that this one is working better, so they sent way more traffic to this ad. But we still kept it running because it addressed some aspects of our business that we wanted to point out and continuously test, even though we see that this one here is working way better. You see, we spent we made $5,200 on this one in the past 7 days. And this is the first step that you need to take. You need to understand, do I have statistical significance? The next step is, and this is the reason why I made this order of columns here, is that the most important metric is your CPA. So we see this one has a $10 CPA, this one has a $5 CPA. So it becomes clear that the top one is working way better. However, if you have an ad that has a $10 CPA and the other one has a $9 CPA, this can have multiple reasons, and it's not really, you cannot really tell that the one ad is working better. The reason here is, let's say you have a $10 CPA ad and here you have like $9, right? In this case, you would say, well, the $9 ad is better, but what if the $9 ad actually has a way higher click-through rate? Let's say it has a 6% click-through rate, while the other one only has a 1% click-through rate. What we could say now is that actually the ad that is performing worse from a CPA point of view might actually be the better ad, because there might be some reasons why these people converted better on the landing page. So the only real job of an ad is to get people to your page. And an ad that does this with a low CPC and a very high CTR is usually the better ad. So here, same thing. If you get a somewhat low difference between CPAs, you should focus more on CPC on CTR. So let's say, like I said, $9 CPA here, $10 CPA here, but if the top one has a way lower CPC or a way higher CTR, I still would run with both ads for sure, because normally this is what really makes, this here is what really makes up an ad. So CPC and CTR are way more important than CPA from an ad perspective. Of course, CPA in general is the more important metric. So once you decided on an ad, for example, this one works way better, what you do is you go ahead, you pause this ad, so you click here and you click pause, and immediately you will create another ad. And this is very important, at least if you spend, let's say, over $10 per day, because then it makes sense to continuously test. You see that here we even test 3 ads at a time, even though the bottom one is not really working. We didn't get conversions, but we also just got a few clicks last week. But you get the idea that once you pause an ad, and it depends on your budget if you use 2, 3, or 4 ads at the same time. I do not recommend to use more than 4 ads. Let's say you pause one of them, you come up with a new ad immediately, and this ad again should be totally different to the one that is performing well. So we have a good performing ad, and you can now go ahead and create another ad that is totally different, because worst case, this ad doesn't work, so the better performing one gets more of the traffic again. So you can definitely take some bold risks and take some bold moves and try to always come up with very fresh, very new ads. But here it's important that you get that you have a look at all these different metrics, like I told you, not only looking at CPA, also CPC, CTR, clicks. What's also important is the average position, because if an ad is on a very high average position, this means that this ad is generally easier to scale because it simply gets more search volume. If you do it with another ad, let's say this one here, it is getting less impressions. So if you would go with this one, with this ad here only, it's getting less impressions, and it's harder to scale unless you increase your CPC bit or something. So this is how you go with general ad optimization. The ad optimization process is actually more straightforward than the campaign or the ad group optimization process. So here you normally don't work with whole experiments. You cannot go with different bidding strategies. So it's not that complex. You basically apply the ad creation method to on an ongoing basis. So you continuously check your data, apply new insights and stuff like this, but there is not a totally new process for optimization compared to ad creation. So I hope that this little lesson was helpful and not too confusing with all the different data sets, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.